Welcome to Leadership Traits Decoded. I'm Cynthia Kyriazis, Chief Experience Officer at the Culture Think Tank.
And I'm Drea Martin, Chief Operating Officer of the Crucible. We are collaborative partners at Performance Leadership Learning Lab, where we transform leadership intelligence into return-driven action.
Today, we're unpacking the leadership traits essential for building, investing in, and scaling successful companies. Our insights come directly from data-driven metrics within our platform's solution. So let's dive in. Hello, Drea. How are you? We haven't spoken in a while.
Yeah, it's been a bit. Nice to be back, Cynthia. Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there. I went back and I looked at some of our topics, and today I want to see how much we can learn about two topics that kind of bump into each other back to back, so to speak.
Right.
And the reason is that I experienced these two today, right? So the two topics are impatience and urgency.
Fantastic.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I had a little problem with tech, and I was extremely impatient because that is my natural state of life. And then I got all urgenty about it. I don't know how else to put it. So I'm going to let you take it from here. How about we start with impatience?
Yeah, happily. So we
There
can
you
start
go.
by defining impatience. And as you kind of explained in your example there, so it's really that lack of tolerance for a slow decision making or slow action. Impatience is an interesting one because it's very much your expectation for others and kind of your tolerance of how other things are moving
Yeah.
forward. So that's where that trait itself really manifests itself.
Okay. What's the upside and the downside of something like that?
Yeah, well, the upside that we can start with, especially with a lot of the clients we work with who are in environments where things are high pressure, pace is expected, and that's just a necessary requirement of the job. Having high impatience means that their expectations are set at a certain level, which usually means they're expressed, which then means things probably move a little bit more quickly because somebody has the expectation that that will be what takes place. So that's kind of that upside there is if somebody has more impatience, especially in a role in an environment where that's necessary, that will influence how they set standards, what they set as the expectations of how things flow, how they determine the way things move.
Okay. So there is an upside to it. It's not always the negative to say that person is very impatient. There is an upside to probably every skill set we talk about. What about the downside, though?
Yeah, the downside is an interesting one because this is where I'd say alignment comes in a little bit more than just kind of the a person themselves having high impatience or having too low impatience is not a problem unless it is misaligned with the people around them.
Mm, mm.
So if you're expecting other people to move at a certain pace or not to make decisions too slowly or to proceed with action too slowly, whatever the expectation is and the clarity around it, and then the understanding within the group of what kind of that set norm is, helps determine if the trait is a positive or a negative, whether it's high or low. So it's that set group pace and then that understanding between people of if you're all highly impatient, things flow very well. If certain people are less patient than others, then it's important to understand that. And that's where that urgency trait comes in as well. That self drive, that determination that you have yourself to push things forward. The more aligned we see traits like urgency and impatience, so you not only expect other people to move quickly, but you also move yourself quickly, can help the entire group experience less tension and just overall experience of, yeah, just have a better experience pushing things forward and kind of initiating.
So, of course, leaders are always in a position of expecting things to happen and sometimes not taking a step back, perhaps, and recognizing their own skill set around that or their own levels of patience or impatience or urgency or non-urgency, because everything could seem urgent every day.
Right.
And that's a little bit like somebody who cries wolf a lot. After a while, we don't listen, we don't hear. It's just, oh, it's just them doing that. So, awareness of not only yourself, but how the speed or lack of speed or whatever the style is for the group that the leader is looking at needs to be taken into consideration because it's two players, an individual and a group, right?
Right.
So we go kind of back and forth on that. So assuming that the leaders understand that and step back and speak to that, where does the sense of urgency come in that? as you said before, it's like impatience. It can be a good thing or a bad thing, or a workable thing and a non-workable thing, less effective. Urgency is defined as what, or how do we speak to that?
Yeah, so urgency is more of that internal drive, while impatience is more about that external
Mm,
expectations,
yeah.
tolerance, what you put up with. Urgency is that powerful sense of tenacity and determination that pushes you as an individual forward. So that's more your expectations, maybe your tolerance for your own pace, compared to impatience being a lot more of that outward reflection of the group around you. What I wonder, especially with your own work and kind of coaching in this environment, there seems to be a lot of false urgency within the space. Just I run into this all the time within the corporate space. It's tough sometimes to understand because there are deadlines. There's things that have to happen quickly. We're also typically not working in kind of life or death situations. So this urgency that kind of runs, how do you deal with if there's this false sense of urgency? Everything's currently high priority, everything's kind of on that clock. How do you pull someone back from that? How do you make that a maybe healthier work environment so that there's a little bit more of an understanding of what truly is a priority versus what is not?
Well, that's an interesting question. And it's really very much speaks to the role of a coach in that you need to be able to ask the questions. It's about the
Mm,
questions, not the answers, right? So the question is, what is it making you feel this way? Tell me, is there a deadline? So we try to kind of unfold what the story is about and then ask even more questions about how are you detecting that the team might feel with this? Or have you gotten pushback? And what does it sound like? And just keep trying to ask the questions to see if it can unfold. What is this urgency about? Was it, in fact, the building is on fire, right?
right.
Or was it something that somebody's boss said to them? Or was it something because the CFO came in and said, we're down 5%? We have to kind of take a step back and ask the leaders, prioritize this issue and see where it is on the scale of how important it is so that we could start to help them see and feel, and by definition, what really is an urgent thing, or is it just your personal urgent thing? And then the same with impatience, like having a discussion about, do you feel that there is a sense of impatience around this? And if so, how? And if so, what? To get them to open up and put in words what it is they're seeing and feeling with their team. Lots of times coaches get the rap of, well, if I wanted to be a therapist, I could have done that. Coaches don't go in to give you the response. They want you to unfold it yourself so that we can talk about what options there are, what options outside of that think in this particular type of box, because that's how the world they may feel in. They may feel that
Mm,
they have this constant pressure to produce. And okay, that's fine. We can have a constant pressure to produce, but it's how we do it. That's why we decode traits, right? Because
right.
it's being done through human beings, and human beings sometimes need help unfolding things in order to own them. And that's about asking the questions so we get the aha lights, not just saying, oh, you really need to stop that.
Right.
That's not what coaches do, right? So thanks for that question though, because sometimes I have to heal myself with this impatience urgency thing that I have from time to time.
That's helpful to understand that this notion of like, where's the fire? Whether it's an internal urgency that's just constantly driving things and high impatience constantly driving things, or is it pressure that's coming from a certain perspective or information that's maybe not, yeah, something that they've even come to light with themselves. So that's where asking the right questions comes through and understanding what your own personal levels are and those of the people around you so that you can really navigate that. That's really cool insight.
Sometimes when I talk to leaders about improving communication, and in this case, let's say meetings, how do you make your meetings more effective? We'll have that conversation for a while. One of the things that I always say in meetings is don't go into a meeting unless you can clearly identify what it is you need and want from that meeting. So it might be also a lesson in this communication. If you sense that people are impatient or you're urgent or they have a sense of urgency around it, whatever it is, maybe take a step back and think, what is it that I need from this communication? And what
Right.
is the best way to help my staff or my leadership team get there? It's always about what's happening with them too.
Very cool. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, that was awesome. That helped me. I hope it helped our listeners.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks a lot for
Fantastic.
your insights, Drea, because you always put them in such a distinct way that is very, very helpful, I think, at least for me, and I'm assuming for our listeners as well.
Appreciate that. Thanks for sharing your own insight and knowing when to and how to ask those questions. So that's my biggest takeaway, I think, is just that notion of coming in knowing that you're not looking for the response. You're looking for how do you point someone towards that clarity. And that's maybe the base of everything we do is helping them find clarity.
That's right. That's exactly right. Well, thanks so much again for all your knowledge and sharing. Thanks for listening to this episode of Leadership Traits Decoded. You'll be able to find all our episodes on the Performance Leadership Learning Lab website at www.pllab.com, or you can listen on your favorite streaming platform.
We'll be back soon to explore the next essential trait. Until then, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn if you have any questions or ideas.